This is the Brandon Smith Show, and I'm your host, Brandon Smith, and the entire purpose of this show is one singular thing, and that is to help you live a life that much more free from dysfunction. So this show is part of our December series of getting you ready for next year, 2019. And so as we get ready for next year, one of the elements that can be a challenge for us is what if we're dealing with a lot of stress, or we're trying to figure out a way to kind of keep focused on our goals, achieve our goals, get those things done. And so to help us on this journey, I've got a wonderful expert with us today, Tricia Molloy. Tricia, how are you?
Doing great.
I am thrilled to have you here.
Same here.
So in a minute, I would like to have you share a little bit more of your background with the group, but I want to make sure I introduce you properly. So you are an expert on developing a positive mindset so employees can reduce stress, achieve goals, and enjoy more work-life balance.
That's it.
And also the author of Working with Wisdom.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got your book here, Working with Wisdom.
That's it.
I'm excited, and I particularly love, we'll talk more about it, but I love the door hanger that comes with the book.
I hope you'll use that.
Oh, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that in my home office so my kids know.
Good.
Don't enter. I've tried lots of things to put up signs on my doors. Nothing seems to work.
Okay, well,
I
maybe
think this is going to be the trick.
Yeah, I hope so.
So we're going to talk today about how to kind of manage stress, how to stay focused on goals. And I know you've got kind of a really good kind of 5-step plan for that.
I do.
So we're going to dive into that. But before we get into it, I love story time. So tell us a little bit more about you. What do you do? How do you kind of bring your gifts to the world? And how did you get doing that?
Yeah. You know, for as long as I can remember, I've always been fascinated by the way thoughts can create our reality. And I started to use some of these strategies that I've written about and that I speak about very early in my career. I started my marketing business 30 years ago, and clients and colleagues would say, well, that's an interesting way that you dealt with that opportunity or that challenge. Can you show me, the way that you speak to yourself or how you visualize what you're trying to accomplish? And I started to informally coach and consult on it. And then I thought, well, maybe this isn't something that most people really think about. And maybe I can come up with a book that will help people do that more easily. And so when the book came out, that's when I started to speak. And so I love when the light bulbs go off, when I share what I've learned has worked for me and let them use these tools so that they can accomplish their goals.
So I love that you say you focus on kind of that positive self-talk and some of those elements around that. And we've heard that that's important, but when I think back to my own just day-to-day life, I don't ever sit there and say to myself, okay, now Brandon, now's the time for you to give yourself some positive self-talk.
You will start to think, what am I saying to myself now?
Yeah.
I promise you'll start to say that, and you'll catch yourself, because we tend to say, we're protecting ourselves. So most of what we say is negative. And so you'll start to catch yourself and hopefully start flipping that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, okay, so I would why don't we dive into our topic?
Okay.
So as we're moving into the beginning of next year, and I can imagine a lot of listeners and even viewers of this show are dealing with things like stress and dealing with things like maybe unmet goals from last year or wanting to kind of stay focused on goals for this year as they're taking that time to get off the treadmill, reflect a little bit.
Hopefully we'll take that time.
Because the treadmill's they're gonna have to get back on.
That's right. That's right.
So what kind of ideas or strategies would you have that would be good for us to be thinking about as we're preparing for next year?
Well, early in my speaking career, I started to speak about all 10 principles from my book. And I would say that the audiences were inspired, but a lot of times they were somewhat overwhelmed because it was too much information. And so I thought, well, out of the 10, what 5 can I focus on? And then if I can come up with an acronym to make it easy to remember and to practice and to perhaps share with other people. And if it could be a juicy acronym, that could be even better because it would get them, they're emotionally connected to the goals. And that's where CRAVE came. So I think if we talk about the 5 CRAVE steps, those are the foundation for really reaching any goal.
Okay, I'm hungry right now, so CRAVE's easy to remember.
That's right. That's right.
All right, so CRAVE. So we'll start with C. What does C stand for?
Clean out the clutter.
Okay.
Clean out the clutter. Clutter distracts us. It confuses us. It drains our energy. It keeps us from doing what's most important. It gets in the way of our goals and our dreams.
So when you say clutter, are you talking about mental clutter or physical clutter or a little bit of all of that?
All of it. So physical clutter first. So a messy office, a jam-packed closet, clothes closet where half the clothes no longer fit your size or your lifestyle or perhaps your era.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got technical clutter. So that's information overload. Spending too much time on the internet and social media sites, your over-reliance on your cell phone. And then you have emotional clutter. That's the stuff that keeps us up at night. The what ifs, the regrets, the resentments, the things we haven't forgiven about someone else or perhaps ourselves, unfinished business, unnecessary obligations, toxic people. Those are the ones that light up a room when they leave it.
All right. So here
It took a moment.
It took me a while to get that, but I love that. Light up a room when they leave it. It's beautiful.
You have any toxic people in your life?
I am going to use that. I get paid to work with toxic folks.
That's it.
Yes, I do. I do know those folks well. Light up a room when they leave it. Okay, so when you talk about clutter and all those different kinds, the thought that was going through my head was some of that stuff's easier to take on than others.
Oh,
so
that's true.
It's almost like, I'm willing to go into my closet and pull out all the shirts I haven't worn in the last year and
good. And that's a good start.
That's a good start.
And that'll give you some more energy and more clarity, and then you can start tackling some of the other things.
And that was where I was going to go with this.
Yeah.
Is there a way to start to build momentum? So start with the easy ones first.
You've got it. You've got it. Yeah, and just build from there. Recognizing that when you do start to clear that clutter, you do have more clarity, you do have more energy, and you start to recognize that that clutter has prevented you from living a life you love. So, there's a universal law, the universe abhors a vacuum. And I believe that when we clear out that clutter, the universe fills it with what serves our highest good. But we can't get that if clutter is blocking it.
Yeah.
And it's a universal issue.
I did an exercise. So I'm going to give you my example that I did last year.
Okay.
And you tell me if it falls in this category or something else.
Okay.
So I sat down and I reflected on my year about this time last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a good year. It really was. But there was a lot of stress in my year last year in 2017. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, okay, I really don't want this year to go the same way. Mm-hmm. So I did an inventory of where all my stress was.
Oh, good for you.
And so I looked at those kinds of clients or engagements or that kind of work. And I said, all right, I'm going to intentionally remove those.
Good for you.
From 2018. Now, that also means I was removing revenue and all that, but I wanted to just get rid of it.
Yes.
And it took a while because sometimes it's not as simple as just hitting a light switch.
Right.
As a good mentor of mine said, sometimes change is more like a dimmer switch. It's a little more like the dimmer switch.
Good point.
But I was able to do it. Does that fall in this category?
It sure does.
Okay.
Yes. And what happened when you let those clients go? What happened?
Generally, I feel great.
Yeah.
I feel great. I mean, a little anxious because there's this space now.
Right.
And that's a little bit weird.
But you got to trust.
Yeah, so I'm in this place of trust and kind of faith in that.
Yeah.
But the feeling is a good one.
Yes, it is.
It's my anxiety has dropped. I don't feel quite like I'm out of breath.
Right.
I can kind of breathe.
Yes.
But I am kind of waiting to see, okay, what's gonna fill the other half of my closet, so to speak.
Yes.
Okay, so that's clutter. All right.
Yeah, clutter.
So that was a fun exercise for me. So maybe that could be another additional piece, is thinking about where people's stress is.
Yes.
And is there a way to remove that if that's possible? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was the C.
Yes.
What's R?
R is raise your energy.
Okay.
And so energy management is just as important when it comes to goals as time management. And the way I explain it is, we are all vibrational energy beings. We vibrate at different levels at different times. So when we're taking good care of ourselves, when we feel appreciated, we'll vibrate at a high, positive, constructive, light level. And because energy attracts like energy, we'll attract people and circumstances that vibrate at that same positive level. Now, when we're burned out and stressed out and we're not taking good care of ourselves and we don't feel appreciated, we'll vibrate at a low, dark, negative, destructive level. And because misery loves
company,
we'll attract people and circumstances. And you can relate to that, right? So you have to consciously be aware of where your energy is and where you're vibrating and keep it as high as you can. simply by loving and nurturing yourself. So what does that mean? So think about what your mom or your doctor has always told you. Eat healthy, drink plenty of water, get enough sleep. Sleep is a big issue for a lot of people. And exercise or stay active, physically active in one way or another. But then it goes deeper than that. It's about spending time with positive, supportive people and less time with the others. Enjoying a hobby, listening to great music, singing with others, dancing, doing what brings you joy, spending time in nature. Get that on the calendar, because when you start to do that, your energy increases, you're more creative, you can solve problems easier, your stress is reduced, but you have to make a conscious effort. Because if you don't, life takes you where it wants to go. And if you can't control that, then, what your life is not as meaningful. You're not going to be as satisfied. You're definitely not going to have any sort of work-life balance.
Yeah, raise your energy.
Yeah.
So I've inadvertently tackled this step a little bit this year too, I think.
Good. Okay.
So I'm going to try it again, share it with you. And
yes.
One thing I had a realization on was I think I was assuming that my number of hours and my energy should match other people's energy. So I should be working long hours. Well, they work 10 hours, 12 hours. I should work 10 hours, 12 hours. And part of what I have learned is that everybody's different.
Yes.
And different kinds of work use different kinds of energy.
Yes.
So there might be something I'm doing, like a speaking engagement, that's very high energy.
Yes.
Where it's in 1 hour, but I may feel exhausted afterwards. Where I might do something else that's 4 hours and not feel that tired.
Good point.
And so understanding, I had to teach myself understanding there are certain windows of the day where I'm optimal.
Yes.
And try
That's
to
a big piece of
try
it,
to
isn't it?
not do work outside those windows.
Yeah.
So I don't get burned out.
That's great.
Would that fall in this category?
And is this a new revelation for you?
Yes.
Oh, good
Because
for
part of
you.
it was I thought, well, I should be more is better. People are asking for my time. I should find time on my calendar to give it. So I was doing calls at 7:30 in the morning, all the way to leave the gym at 6:15 and take calls on the way home.
And how was that working for you?
No, horrible. I actually I started feeling resentful of the person on the other line when, by the time it was 7 o'clock and I'm sitting in my driveway waiting to go inside to my family.
And they sense that too, so nobody wins.
It was not good.
No.
It was not good.
No.
So I've tried to set more boundaries and say, really minimize the stuff I do before 9 a.m. and after kind of 4:30 p.m.
Yes. And just because you're busy doesn't mean you're important or productive. I think that's a big piece. People say, sometimes you run into people, how's it going? Oh, I'm so busy. And it's not satisfying.
Yeah. I was getting tired of hearing myself say that.
Yeah.
I said, I don't want to be me. I don't want to be saying that to people. That's my response.
And good for you.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. Perfect timing. We're about to roll into break. When we come back from break,
yes,
the next letter is A.
Yes.
And I have no idea what that is.
Okay.
And we're going to have to find out after break.
Good.
So stay tuned. We come right back. We're going to continue with Tricia as she guides us through her 5 steps on helping us be more stress-free and more focused in 2019. Hey, this is Brandon with your Coaching Minute for the week. So one of the tips I give my clients that have direct reports is the following tip. At some point during the year with your direct reports, often about halfway between the annual review process, so at that 6-month mark, at the end of one of your one-on-ones with one of your direct reports, ask the following question or questions. What could I start doing to support you better? What could I stop doing? And what could I continue doing? What could I start doing to support you better? What could I stop doing that's getting in your way? What could I continue doing that's working for you? And what you'll find is they'll come back with valuable feedback for you on ways you can adjust to be a better leader, but you'll also find that each direct report's going to give you a little bit slightly different feedback. It's a great way to make sure you're giving everybody what they need so you're not guessing. So pick that point in time and do it. Now, one more important hygiene tip around this. Make sure you let your direct reports know you're going to ask that question so they can prepare and be ready when it happens. So that's my coaching minute for the week. I look forward to hearing how it goes. Welcome back to the Brandon Smith Show. Of course, I'm your host, Brandon Smith, and today we've been talking about as we go into 2019, how we can keep ourselves a little more stress-free, a little more focused on our goals. And my wonderful guest, Tricia Molloy, has been guiding us through her 5-step plan of CRAVE.
Yes.
And so we've kind of gone through C, which was kind of removing the clutter.
Yes.
We went through R, which was raise your energy.
Yes.
Now we're on to A.
Yes. Yes.
Suspense is killing me,
So
Tricia. What's A?
I feel like I'm on Sesame Street. So the next segment is brought to you by the letter A.
That's right.
So A is for affirm success. Affirm success.
Are you talking about affirming your own success or affirming other people's success?
Well, your own for this purpose of goals.
Okay.
So, studies show that we speak to ourselves at least 10,000 times a day, and 80% of that tends to be negative because we're human and we're programmed to protect ourselves against worst-case scenarios. So the good news is that affirmations or positive self-talk can counter those negative messages that play in our heads with ones that support our success. So I'm curious, do you tend to use affirmations?
I don't know if I do. I
Okay.
think sometimes I do.
So, an affirmation is just a brief sentence. Brief, always in the positive and in the present. So, a good work-life balance affirmation that I've gotten a lot of good feedback on is, when you start a particularly busy day and you're thinking, how am I going to get everything done? If you can say simply, I have more than enough time and energy to get the important things done today. So you're basically telling yourself, your
Okay.
subconscious mind, now it's not everything on the to-do list, but the important things. I have more than enough time and energy. And so when I remember to say that, and sometimes I have to say it several times before I start to believe it, but I find I get more calm, more confident. I cross things off the list that shouldn't have been there in the first place. I delegate. And by the end of the day, the important things do get done. So that's a good use of an affirmation, is to be able to say that to yourself, say it out loud when it's appropriate, place it someplace that you'd see every day, like your bathroom mirror or the dashboard of your car by your computer screen, because we get distracted. But if you can program yourself to say those empowering messages to yourself, you will, and when you hear yourself saying something negative, to be able to flip it. And what happens is eventually the positive becomes the default. And you'll notice that all of a sudden you got this little cheerleader in your head going, you can do this. You've got that.
That's fantastic. That's something that in the first two, I think I'd inadvertently been doing some of the C and some of the R. I don't think I'm doing this one very well.
Okay.
I think when affirmations tend to come up in my mind, if I'm really, really stressed out, then I might use an affirmation to just reframe the situation.
Yes, reframe, yes.
But only when I'm really, really stressed out. Or I might use an affirmation after I feel like I did something really good.
Yes. An attaboy kind of affirmation,
But I'm not doing it to set the day in a regular way.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real opportunity for me
Yes, it
to
is.
do that. And just very simply, just, print it up or write it and stick it on my mirror. And
That's
so I'm
it.
looking at it and saying it out loud. And I do talk to myself all the time.
Yeah.
And my family thinks I'm crazy. Probably true. Probably a little true. But I think there's definitely opportunity for that. So that's a great one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very simple.
Okay, so that's our A, affirmation.
Yeah.
How about V?
V is for visualize.
Okay.
Yeah. So every top athlete has harnessed that power of visualization. The runner sees herself breaking through the tape at the end of the race. The golfer sees the hole in one. I have twins that are 24 now, Connor and Allison. And Connor, when he was 9 years old and a darn good little leaguer, he told me that he imaginated catching that crucial inning-ending fly ball before it was hit to him in center field, and he did. So think about what you can imaginate or visualize about your goals. And your subconscious mind believes everything you tell it, and that's why affirmations work so well, and everything that you show it, and that's why visualization works so well. And it seeks out opportunities and resources to prove that it's true. So one of the things that I love to do is I facilitate vision board workshops for organizations like the CDC, Verizon, Ernst & Young. And once a quarter, I actually do a pro bono vision board workshop for an organization in town called Wellspring Living. And they're all about rehabilitating survivors of sex trafficking. They have a women's academy, so I'm one of in the 10-week program, I'm one of those weeks where we work on vision boards, help them to visualize what their future could look like. And so it's very powerful because it communicates with your subconscious mind. You see it and you know what your future could look like, but it also communicates with others. So within your team or your family or your friends, they see these boards and they say, I didn't know you were interested in that or doing this. And I know somebody who you should speak with about that. And you can't really communicate that in any other way. It's not something typically that verbally you would do it, and certainly you wouldn't do it from writing a list.
Okay, I have two questions for you.
Yeah.
As you were talking.
Yeah.
So the first question that popped in my head as you were talking was, how often should we be doing this?
As often as you need to.
Oh,
I mean, like creating a vision board?
Yeah, and even, is it something you do once a year and you just kind of come
Yes.
back to it on a regular basis?
Could be. Some people have the same one for many years and they just keep pruning it and adding to it and all that. Some people like to do one fresh
But
at
it
the
is a
beginning of the
board,
year.
so you want to turn it into something physical that you then see it. So you take what's kind of in your mind and you put it up somewhere.
You do. Some people like a digital version of it, where they actually create the board online. I like the tangible cutting and pasting, that type of thing. But even if you do it that way, it's always good to take a picture so you can see it on your digital devices. But, some people, every year they do a new board. Some people have the same board for many years and maybe just, change it up a little bit. So the answer to your question is whatever it takes. Does it still have power? And then you want to place it someplace you'll see every day. What I often recommend, I say, just a couple of minutes a day, take a look at the board and ask yourself this question: what's one step I can take to bring me closer to this reality? And then either you'll have an immediate aha or insight, or sometime during the day, you'll have something that comes up. It's like, okay, that's the direction I need to go. Because we're so distracted by so many things that are going on in our life. And if we don't have tools like this, we can't have the direction that we need to move us in where we want to go.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, so my other question.
Yeah.
Who do you share this with?
Whoever supports you.
Okay, that was kind of where I was going.
Yes.
Because we all have people in our lives who their own fear, they want you to have it too.
Bless their hearts.
Oh, they share, exactly. Bless their hearts. They share it with us. And they say, oh, no, you can't do that.
Right.
Oh, why would you be
Yes.
dreaming of that for yourself? You're just a ...
Yes. Oh,
and
yes.
those are dangerous people
Yes,
in
keep
life.
them away from your boards. So some people I know keep their boards in like their walk-in closet, where it's their own space there. And then others, they have a very supportive family, and so it's in the family room, or, sometimes it's on the refrigerator, wherever you can get the most support. But you do have to be careful with people who are trying to protect you. Don't want you to be disappointed, right?
Try to protect themselves too, I think.
That's right.
I think. Okay, so that's our V.
V.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that was really helpful. Oh, one more thing around the V. You made a comment around cut and paste.
Yeah.
Is this kind of old school magazine cut and paste,
Yeah.
or is this it can really be, or is that can be if literally and figuratively?
So yeah, so you're flipping through magazines. You are taking images from the internet and printing them out, and that's kind of how it works. I often will tell, when I do a workshop, I will tell people, you might see something in the magazine, a picture or some words that delight you, but to have nothing to do with the list of goals that you've set. And I encourage you to put that on there, because soon you will find out why that's true. But also too, once you go through this process, you will never read a magazine in the same way again, because it's like the magazine keeps speaking to you at each page that you turn.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was our V. So our last letter is E.
Express thanks.
Okay.
Cultivating that attitude of gratitude, because what you focus on expands, and what you appreciate appreciates. And we tend not to focus on focus on what's not going right and what we don't have. And so by cultivating that attitude of gratitude, you program yourself to remember what is going right, which helps reduce stress, makes you feel more positive. Yeah, it works.
Okay. So this express gratitude, I think inadvertently I put something I was doing under affirmation, which would actually could be also the express gratitude if it's after the event.
Yes.
So it's almost like the affirmation and the express gratitude kind of bookend it.
Yes. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Each of the steps, they support each other, and there's some overlap there too. Like raising your energy. When you are in gratitude, your energy can't help but go up. So, and if you're fearful, once you go into gratitude, the fear dissipates because you can't hold fear and gratitude at the same time.
Yeah. I love those. I love that list. I love those 5 steps.
Yeah. And I wanted to say something else about gratitude. So gratitude will help you achieve your goals because it keeps you positive and it reminds you of what things are going right. But gratitude for other people is so powerful too, because by expressing thanks to others, they will more likely help to support your success as well. So, and we say, oh, well, my wife or my kids or my boss or my employees, they know I appreciate them. Well, do they really? And even if they do, wouldn't it be nice to do something a little bit extra for them? Go out of your way to let them know how much you appreciate them.
I'm glad you mentioned that. There's 2 things I would add to that. One, I often hear people say, well, I don't need that gratitude, so I don't give it that much. And I would say that's not true. I would say everybody likes to be appreciated.
Yes.
So you should give it generously, even if you think that you don't need it.
Yes.
That's still give it.
Yes, good point.
And I think the other thing I would also say, the therapist in me says, notice when you are reluctant to give it. And when it feels like it's a scarce resource. Like, no, I should be the only one succeeding right here. Or if you succeed, then therefore I can't succeed.
Right.
And notice that, but still push through that and give it anyway.
Yes.
That's one of those funny ironies in core needs. The more you chase it, the more you can't get it. But when you give it to others, then you get it.
Right.
So if we apply it to this,
yes,
give that gratitude.
Yes.
And you're more likely to be rewarded, either from that person or from the world in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it.
All right. I think I'm on to this CRAVE thing. So if there was one final question around this, and then we'll start to move. Actually, we're already moving to close. It's getting here to the end. Is there any one step that you think people should start with sooner than later? Or is it really just about you and where you're at?
I'd say almost every instance, it's the clean out the clutter. In fact, when I was trying to figure out an acronym, I was really pleased that clutter cleaning would be first, because you can't really move on to a lot of the other steps until you've let go of some of that clutter that's been holding you back.
Love that. That makes perfect sense. And I love that it can be as simple as literally go into your closet and start there.
Yeah.
And then think about those.
A junk drawer, cabinet.
Yeah.
Your trunk of your car,
Yeah. Yeah. And then move into other things that are more emotional or stress related or technology. Those other things are harder to see.
Right.
But start with the tangible.
Right.
And then use that to build momentum.
Yeah. You got
Beautiful. Well, I always ask all my guests this question. If you had one life hack for us to help us live a life more free from dysfunction, personally or professionally, what would that be?
Yeah. I think, what I mentioned before about the positive self-talk, to take the time to figure that out. Figure out what you're saying to yourself that might be negative, flip it around, and come up with an affirmation that will work for you. I think that's critical. And too many people, one time I talked to somebody about affirmations, and he said, well, I never use them because I don't want to jinx myself. And I thought, wow, that's an interesting way to look at it, but I could see how someone would feel that way. So to be able to push through that and recognize that if you're not speaking kindly and supportive of yourself, then how can you expect anybody else to? Be your own best friend, your best coach.
I'm telling you right now, I've already decided, in addition to kind of creating a visual board for me, because I think I've got something in my head, but I really want to do that.
Okay.
I'm also going to create a affirmation and stick it on my mirror.
Oh, good.
I think that's...
Will you please let me know what it ends up being?
I will.
If you're comfortable with
I will.
That. Yeah. Yeah, that's
I will.
good.
I will. I absolutely will.
And it's so these steps you teach to your children, you play around with it with your spouse, you bring it into the office. I mean, it's just anybody can benefit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've been such a gift today. I really, really have enjoyed
you.
this. So if people want to learn more about you and get more resources from you,
Sure.
where can they go?
My website, which is simply Tricia Molloy, that's TRICIAMOLLOY.com.
2 O's.
Yep,
2 L's, 2 O's.
that's it.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And there they can learn about both where you're maybe speaking, but also get copies of your book and other things.
Yes, I do some coaching, so they can learn about that as well.
Wonderful.
And I'd love to, I speak a lot at companies and conferences, so I'm always looking for opportunities to share this message, the CRAVE message, and also about work-life balance. And I have a course that just came out, an online course, so you can learn about that as well. And that's geared towards project managers, but it's also for anybody else.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Excellent. And thank you for listening and watching the show. Of course, catch a new show each Sunday at 7:30 p.m. on iTunes.thebrandonsmithshow.com and live on Facebook.com/Brandon Smith WPT for Workplace Therapist. And if you've enjoyed today's show, and we certainly hope you have, please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. So until our next time we connect in the next show, have a great week and an awesome life.